Shalom, shalom, Israel, shalom. It's your brother Joshua back with another quick coffee break and a quick exhortation for the brothers and sisters in the truth. First and foremost, I want to give all honor and all glory to Yahweh, Bashem Yahweh Shai, right? And I wanted to come with a quick exhortation and an educational type coffee break today, right? It's not going to be long, pretty brief, but right, I was going into deep thought meditation on, things of this earth and what we can and what we should use in a time of distress, right? And what I mean by that is when all hell breaks loose, right? When the famine comes, right? When Jacob's trouble comes about and we're on the move, and right? And where there's food scarce, where you can't go to a convenience store, right? When you can't go to a grocery store, all the things are bare, the shelves are gone, people are fighting and looting, trying to get what they can, any crumb, any morsel, right? Breaking into each other's house, trying to steal a loaf of bread, things of that nature, right? But the men and women and the children of the Most High are going to be on the run in that day, right? They're going to be out in the wilderness. And when you're in the wilderness, when you're hiding from these nations, from Esau and so on and so forth and things of that nature, you can't just have the convenient time to sit down, break out the grill, right, and smoke some chicken, right, or smoke a whole lamb. It's not going to happen. You're going to be constantly on the lookout, right? Food is not going to be accessible easy to you as a hamburger, right, or fried chicken. You can't go to your favorite spot, sit down, have a wine, and eat good. It's not going to work like that. But no, rather, you're going to have to do something that you never thought that you was going to have to do. You're going to have to forge, right? You're going to have to take from the earth what the Lord has given unto you, right? Because you're not going to be stable in those days. So you're going to have to know things that you wouldn't usually think about, like vegetation, how important things are in the earth and things that can sustain you in a time of need, right? But I want to bring out this precept real quick in the book of Second Esdras, all right? The book of Second Esdras, all right? Chapter 16 and verse number 40, and it reads, "My people, hear my word, make you ready to the battle, and in those evils be even as pilgrims upon the earth." So, what is a pilgrim? A pilgrim is a nomadic people, right? Meaning moving from place to place, not really settling in certain places. And when you do settle, you have to do things like forge things as like acorns, walnuts, pecans, things of that nature, right? But you may be on the move so fast that you're not going to be able to sit around and pick certain things as acorns and things of that nature, right? You might have a fleet of Edomites on your tail, right? Or hounds on your trail, things of that nature, where you have to pick up and you have to be on the move, right? So you have to understand and choose what is going on in that situation, and you might have to look down on the ground and try to pick up something real quick and get on down. You might not have eaten in 2 or 3 days, right? So that's why it's going to be convenient in that day to really understand your surroundings and the things that you can partake of from the earth, right? How do you do that? By getting into your studies, knowing what is edible in the earth, what the Lord created for you to be able to eat, right? From the ground, from the trees, things of that nature. The Lord set up the world for you. It is your place to learn from, right? In the book of Job, it tells you that you can learn from the earth, right? Matter of fact, let's get that in the book of Job real quick. The book of Job, chapter 12, right? Right, this is the book of Job, chapter 12, and I'm going to start at verse number 7. And it reads, "But ask now the beast, and they shall teach thee, and the fowls of the air, and they shall tell thee. Or speak to the earth, and it shall teach thee. And the fishes of the sea shall declare unto thee." Who, Slakia, it says, "Who knoweth not in all these that the hand of the Lord had wrought this, and whose hand is the soul of every living thing and the breath of all mankind. So the Lord said, look, man, I created all these things for you, even the earth to be able to speak to you, the animals, right, through the migration patterns, the things that they eat, they partake of. It's simple. Just go and watch, pay attention. That's why in the book of Proverbs, the Lord tells you, go to the ant, right, and watch him, how he works, how he moves. He doesn't have a guide or overseer or boss or anything, but the ant is constantly moving, right? He's constantly working. He's foraging, he's gathering things for his family, for his colony, right? Things of that nature. So you have to do the same thing in those days, right? When, hey, things are not convenient for you and you're going to be out here, you know, and like I say, when all hell breaks loose, you're not going to have the convenience to go to a store and get a bag of chips. So I'm going to show you one of the most convenient things that is edible and you did not know. A dandelion, a simple dandelion, right, is edible, right? And we're going to get a little information on a dandelion real quick, right? Let's get a little information, right? Let me look this up. Right, this is information on the dandelion. It says it's entirely edible. Leaves are great in salads, best before flowers appear, and the roots can be roasted in the tea. So you can eat a dandelion from the flower all the way to the root, right? These things are edible for you and things of that nature. If you didn't know what a dandelion looked like, let's go out and let's find one, right? In a typical yard, this is what a typical dandelion is going to look like before it, you know, flowers, germinates, things of that nature. It gets ready to, you know, its seeds blow off in the wind to go and plant themselves again. So this is what a common dandelion would look like. So all the parts of a dandelion are edible, from the root, the stem, and everything, right? You got the leaves of a dandelion. This is how you can tell this is a plant of a dandelion. Has the jagged edges, things of that nature, right? So this plant, a simple plant in your yard, this is edible. So if you're ever in the wilderness and you're lacking bread, you haven't eaten in 3 or 4 days, this plant is edible, right? So, and it also has medicinal uses, meaning you can use it for your health benefits and things of that nature, right? So let's get a little bit more information about the medicinal uses of a dandelion, right? So let's get some information, right? This is medicinal uses of a dandelion. It says it is known as a spring tonic, right? And it aids in detoxification of the liver and the gallbladder. And it is rich in vitamin A and K, and it's also used to relieve bloating, right? So if you feel bloated, man, you might go out in your yard and go get you some dandelion, man, right? Brew it up in a tea or something like that. Drink that down and relieve that bloating feeling, right? It's also rich in vitamin A and vitamin K. And it's used to detoxify the liver, right? And your gallbladder, man. So these things are important. And the Lord said these things were created for that reason, right? Let's get another precept, right? Check this out. Let's get another precept. Let's go to the book of Sirach, chapter 38 and verse number 4. It says, the Lord have created medicines out of the earth, and he that is wise will not abhor them. So abhor means hate. You shouldn't hate these things that the Lord created for you, for your convenience, for your health, for your stability, man, right? So he created medicines out of the earth. So when you can't go to your doctor, right, that you're used to going to get the checkup, right, to get your prescription fulfilled, things of that nature, guess what? You got medicines from the earth, man, to be able to sustain you in those days, right? And you also got another plant called chickweed. It's also another common, right, yard plant, right? And let's see if we can find some, right? I don't think there's any chickweed around here, but let's look it up. We're going to see what it looks like, right? Let's see what this chickweed look like. Right? So check this out. Right? So this is what chickweed would look like. Right? This is a common yard plant. Right? And if you check that out, you can go right outside your door, right? And that thing is edible. Right? It looks something like right this here. Right? Chickweed, right? Looks about the same. So go out, check out these plants, man. It would behoove you to go out and learn about these things, right? So let's get some information on the chick plant, right? All right, check this out. The mighty chick plant. It says, this is chickweed. It says all parts of the plant are edible that grow above the ground, right? The tender stems, the leaves, the flowers, and the seed pods. They are best eaten when they are young, right? So these plants are best eaten when they first start to sprout, right? This is the best time that you can get these plants, right? And I believe they're seasonal, coming around springtime, things of that nature, of course, right? So it says all parts of the plants are edible that grow above the ground, right? So all things can be eaten except for the root. Okay, so let's check out and see what type of medicinal uses this plant may have. All right, let's look up the chickweed. Okay, Salakia. So the medicinal uses of a chickweed, it says, due to its cooling and anti-inflammatory properties, it is used in solvents and in oils, man. Right? You can make oils out of this thing to treat skin issues, such as eczema, rashes, itchiness, bug bites, and minor injuries. Also used to soothe the digestive tract issues, right? So you can put this in a tea and it can soothe your digestive tract issues. Right, you see that? And that's just a commonly yard plant, right? And that's something that, we commonly don't think of because we outside mowing the grass all the time and we cutting all these things down and not knowing that these things are made for us to consume. Right? Let's get another precept on that. Let's get the classic. Let's get the book of Genesis, man. Chapter 1. This is the book of Genesis. Chapter 1 and verse 29. And it says, and Yahweh said, behold, I have given you every herb bearing seed, which is upon the face of all the earth, and every tree, in which is the fruit of the tree yielding seed. To you it shall be for meat. See that? So every tree that has seed, right, planted and grown, every weed, grass, plant, things like that, it's the fruit of the tree. And these things are for you to eat, man. Right? And the Most High gave these things for you. And they are for medicinal purposes as well, to heal the body naturally, man. And it's a beautiful thing. And the Lord said, you should not abhor these things, right? Even our forefathers did these things, right? And we should always be looking to search for the things that our forefathers did as well. Okay, let's get a count real quick. Let's go back to the book of 2nd Ezra, right? This is the book of 2nd Ezra. Let's see chapter 9. And I'm going to start at verse number, let's get that real quick. In the book of 2nd Ezra, chapter 9, right? And verse number, let's start at 23. And it reads, nevertheless, if thou wilt cease yet 7 more days, but thou shalt not fast in them, but go into the field of flowers where no house is builded, and eat only the flowers of the field. Taste no flesh, drink no wine, but eat flowers only. So the Most High commanded our brother Ezra to go out to the field, man, and eat nothing but the flowers of the field. And it reads on, and pray unto the highest continually. Then will I come and talk with thee. So I went on my way unto the field, which is called Ardarth, like as he commanded me, and there I sat among the flowers, and did eat of the herbs of the field, and the meat of the same satisfied me, right? So it satisfied our forefather Ezra, man, right? How much more would it satisfy you when you're on the run? When you don't have that big tomahawk steak that you like, right? That lasagna that you can't, labor over and watch in the oven cooking, you know, getting right. Your stomach growling and you're ready. You got your side salad already ready, things of that nature. It's not going to be convenient in that day, right? You're going to be in the wilderness, ain't took a shower in 3 or 4 days. You're running around, you're hiding, you're ducking, your beard is grown all out, your sister's hair is all out, ain't no makeup, none of that, right? And you got to eat. So what you going to do? It's time to learn and let the world teach you in these last days, right? Let's get another one. Let's see. Let's look up one. Another common yard plant. Okay. Let's try the Bradford leaf plantain, right? It will look something like this. And I know all brothers and sisters seen these before, right? Right? This is what it would look like, right? So let's kind of search the yard and kind of see if we can find something similar to this plant, if not the plant in this yard, right? Okay, check it out. All right, check it out. It will look something along the lines like this, right? Something like this, right? Something along the lines like this, right? But you can't get it confused with dandelion, right? Something along the lines like this here, right? But the way you can tell the difference between dandelion and the Belford leaf, right? The plantain is, look, the dandelion right here got the jagged leaves here. You see that? You see the long stems, the way they grow there? And this is what the dandelion will look like when it's fully ready to sprout, right? And send off them seeds, okay? So that's what you would be looking at right there to help you tell the difference, all right? So that's another common yard plant, man. You can check out, and it's fully edible, right? So let's look up some information on that, right? Let's see what we can come up with. All right, check it out. The broadleaf leaf plantain, right? So it says is an entirely edible, right? Nutrient dense weed commonly foraged for its tender young leaves, right? And it's crude, is cooked like a spinach. So you can cook this thing like a spinach, right? Nutrient rich seeds used likely or like a nutty grain, okay? And you can see it from the flowering spikes. The younger parts are best, right, eaten when they're, firstly sprouting, things of that nature. And it says leaves become fibrous, right, but can be cooked, while dried leaves make herbal tea, right? And it also says roots can be dried and used to make a tea as well, right? So you can use this plant, like they say in the world, from the rooter to the tutor, from the top to the bottom, man. Everything of this plant can be, consumed, right? Let's check out some edible, or matter of fact, let's go to the municipal uses real quick, right? Is there any medical properties in this plant? It says from this plant, right, it can be used for anti-inflammatory and anti-tumoral properties. So it can help with a tumor, right? And that's mighty through the spirit and power of Yahweh Hashem Yahushua. These things can help with tumors. And it says an anti-inflammatory, right? So that's another beautiful plant that's simply in the yard that you can use, that the Most High God has provided for you in these last days, man, right? And it's really important that you, take the time out to be able to know, what it is that can be edible and what isn't, because you can also go out and see certain things that look like other plants, but they can be poisonous and they can destroy you and even kill you. So it is very important for you to know the difference between such things, right? Just like another forefather. Let's go to one of our most brightest, right, wisest forefather of all, Solomon, right? And let's see what Solomon did, man. Solomon knew things, man, right? Let's check this out. This is the book of Solomon, Wisdom of Solomon, right? Chapter 7, and let's start at I'm going to just start at verse number 17. It says, "For he hath given me certain knowledge of the things that are namely to know how." And it says, "The world was made, and the operations of the elements, the beginning, the ending, and the midst of times, and the alterations and the turning of the sun, and the changing of seasons, and the circuit of years, and the position of stars, the natures of living creatures, and the furies of wild beasts, the violence of winds, and the reasoning of men, and the diversity of plants, and the virtues of roots," man. Right? See that? The diversity of plants and the virtue of roots. Right? So Solomon knew all these things. And that's what you would call science. He understood how the earth it produced all these things. How the sun stayed on the circuit, how the moon stayed on the circuit, the rotation, the changing of the seasons, right? The budding of the plants, the migration of the birds and all the different type of herds of animals and things of that nature. Why they act the way they act, right? Solomon understood these things because he understood the wisdom of the Most High, right? He was one of our wisest forefathers, man, that ever lived. And we should model our behavior after Solomon, man, right? Let's get one more common. Let's see. What's one more common? Let's see. The clover, right? Let's look up the clover. And we see them all over the ground, man. Right? Let's check it out. Boom, right under your feet. You got clovers here, man. Right? Clovers everywhere. They're all over the ground. I remember back in the day, I used to go outside and pick clovers and sit around and be wishing, you know, thinking about leprechauns and stuff going on, man. Right? This is what a common clover look like right here, man. We see these every day in the yard, right? These things are also edible, right? Check this out. Let's get some information on the clover, right? Let's see. Right, it says clovers are entirely edible, including the leaves, flowers, and stems, with the white and red clovers being the most common edible varieties, right? Roots, while edible, they are bitter and should be boiled or roasted, right? So you can even eat the roots of a clover, man, right? But you can roast them, you can boil them, do all these things with it. And it says, it is safe to digest in small increments. It can be difficult to digest. So at times, you don't want to overindulge in things, man. So we always know that anyway. The scriptures tell you, a little is sufficient enough for me, right? Paraphrasing. So you don't want to overindulge these things, but get enough to sustain you, because you can have trouble digesting these things, right? So clover, that's another thing that you can eat commonly in the yard when you're on the go. And let's see if this thing has any medicinal uses to it. Right? Let's check it out. Let's see. Medical uses. It says it can be made in teas, but red clovers is also used in herbal remedies, particularly for skin conditions and menopause symptoms. So, wow, I ain't too hip on the menopause thing, man, but I know the sisters are, man, especially the elders, things of that nature. So it says it can be used in conditions of menopause symptoms, right? And skin irritations and things of that nature. So look at that. The Lord even put medical uses in a little clover, man. And hey, That's mighty right there, man. That's beautiful. So take this little information and use it for your benefit and learn about the things that surround you every day. Learn about your earth and the things you can take from it for, positive uses. Because when that day comes, and it will come, you're going to have to know these things in the last days. You're going to have to understand and have this wisdom, knowledge, and understanding, man. Right? Because Ezra said he ate the flowers of the field and they sustained him. Right? How much more you? Right? Let's get this precept real quick in the book of Isaiah. It's the book of Isaiah, chapter 33 and verse number 6. And it says, and wisdom and knowledge shall be the stability of thy times, and strength of salvation, and the fear of the Lord is his treasure. So you have to have wisdom and understanding of the earth and the plants, the seeds, the animals, and all these things that the Lord gave you in these last days. So when you're a pilgrim on the earth, you're able to sustain yourself and your family if they're with you, right? Because the Lord did say, the evil, they're going to perish anyway. But my children, they're going to be satisfied. They're going to eat. Now, he didn't say you was going to have full course meals. He didn't say that, look, I'm just going to be sending you birds to bring you down, fully baked cakes and things of that nature. He didn't say that. But he said that you're going to be able to eat and you're going to be okay in that day, right? Let's get there real quick. Let's stay in the book of Isaiah, chapter 65, right? And I'm going to start at verse. I'm going to just start at verse number 13. And it reads, therefore, thus said the Lord God, behold, my servant shall eat, but ye shall be hungry. Behold, my servant shall drink, but ye shall be thirsty. Behold, my servant shall rejoice, but ye shall be ashamed. Behold, my servant shall sing for joy of heart, but ye shall cry for sorrow of heart, and shall howl for vexation of spirit. So in that day, the evil man is going to perish from hunger, from the sword, from pestilence, things of that nature. But the Lord said, my servant is going to eat. My servant is going to sing for joy. He's going to be happy, right? And how is it? One of those things is the Lord has given you preparation right now to understand the elements and the signs of times and the creations that he's given you to be able to use for your benefit. So you won't go hungry in that day, man. So the Lord will tell you, wisdom and knowledge shall be the stability of thy times. So use it properly, man. But I hope it was edifying. With that, giving all honor and glory to Yahweh Shem Yahushai and saying, Shalom.